I'm on my ship.
Oh, tell me about the ship.
It's big. There's
What kind of
lots
ship
of
is it?
parts to it. It's a spacecraft.
Hmm. Big is the ship? Is it bigger than a house?
Oh yeah.
How do you go inside the ship?
I'm in it already. When you're in it, you can go out, but we travel with we just travel. If we want our bodies to move, they just go where we want them to go. We don't have to put a space chute on or anything. But we really only go off the ship if we're going interdimensionally.
Describe it to me. What's that like to go interdimensionally?
We just decide where we want to go and then we're there.
Are you there like in another building, another house, or like another planet?
Wherever we want to go.
Hmm. So tell us about you. What is your mission here?
Our mission is intergalactic, but I'm focused on Earth now. We have people all over doing lots of things.
What kind of things?
Some people are learning, some people are teaching. We go where we're needed or called. We're fixers. We help fix things that are broken or wrong.
How do you know where you're needed to go?
We get called there energetically, or we see what's going on and we decide to go. There's different ways to go, to decide to go.
Okay. So when you're called energetically, who calls you?
The energies of the place. Earth has called many people to her now. And for us, it was more her call than humanity's call that I heard.
How does this work? Like Earth, how can Earth call somebody? I don't quite understand that.
It was like a distress signal, like an SOS was sent out.
Hmm. And what kind of things are wrong on Earth?
Many things. When I heard the SOS, it was worse than it is now. Things are moving in a better direction, but she needed help to make her transition. She needed non-humans that were kinder and gentler than she had non-humans on her, but they were parasitic non-humans. She needed non-humans that could balance that out, so so that she had a chance of not being destroyed or destroying.
When you say Earth needed to make her transition, what do you mean with that?
She was a prisoner of those energies, and she wasn't meant to be that. The natural rhythm of the universe is for expansion and growth, and those that had entrapped her were preventing that.
And who was it that entrapped her?
It was the other star races that wanted to inhabit her and use her as a not dumping ground, as a like a slave population. They feed off lesser negative energies, and if she evolved, then the humans on her would evolve, and then they would have no way to be fed energetically, so they needed to keep her trapped and stifled. The natural plan was for her to evolve with those on her, and the darker energies have been thwarting that.
So once you heard the call, what do you do when you hear the call? How do you come and how do you help?
Different people do it different ways. I just jumped ship. Most people would converse with the people on the ship and tell them what they were doing and make more of a plan. But I felt it was urgent and I just came.
And once you came, then what do you do?
I try to teach people by being. I try to show them that there are very few true bred humans on this planet. So they need inspiration from those who have had other experiences. So I can do that just by being and feeling. They can feel my differences and maybe start to resonate with that.
You mentioned some on Earth are learning or teaching. What kind of things are they learning here?
Oh, from my ship, they're not. They're on other places learning. There's not much to learn on Earth for the people that I come from.
Tell us more about that.
What part?
About the places where the learning is happening, the teachings.
There's more advanced places where people have more interesting ideas, more different ways of doing things, different societies, different beings. So they go and they absorb that energy. Like the earthlings can absorb my energy so that they can resonate with that and know that, and then they can go other places and teach that.
So what happens next?
With me,
Yeah?
I just keep doing what I'm doing.
Since you've come to Earth, what kind of things have changed, and have they changed for the good?
It's not obvious, but things are better than they were. It's more obvious that something was wrong. So now the battle is out there, and the bad guys know that the good guys are here, and the good guys know that the bad guys are here, and so the good guys always knew that the bad guys were here. The bad guys didn't know that, they didn't think that we would all show up en masse to help Earthlings because they weren't considered worth it. They're almost like, they think of them as cockroaches. So why would anybody care about them? So they weren't expecting the resistance that they've been getting recently.
What is your goal here?
To help liberate. The planet has already been liberated. The people, not so much. But Earth herself will be fine.
Tell us about the battle.
It is a battle that rages and has far-reaching consequences because it is against the natural law to enslave populations like these beings have enslaved Earthlings. So they've broken many laws, not only in this reality, but in many realities.
And what's going to happen?
To them?
You don't seem to follow the laws.
No, many will be re-educated. Some will be restrained. Many will choose to leave on their own volition and go back to where they came from, and they will escape punishment as we know it. But there's always consequences that will happen, and they will fail. They are failing, but many are stubborn. They worked long and hard and thought that this was a done deal, so they don't want to give up so easily.
How long will this battle continue?
Not long. There's not much more to battle over and with. They know that they are currently outnumbered, and they have, it's a sense of almost pride with them now. They don't want to admit defeat, not because they even really care about the resources anymore, because many of them are also interdimensional. They can just disappear and go where they're from, but it's a matter of they worked so hard and they thought their plan was so good that they don't want to give it up yet, but they will have to.
From our perspective, it looks like there was a war in World War I, World War II. We knew who the enemy was by their uniform. And they played by, or I should say, fought by rules. There were certain rules. They had a gun, they had bombs, they fought the enemy. You knew who the enemy was. What's going on Earth here, this battle you speak of, the enemy is not clearly defined.
Yes.
How do those in battle identify the enemies?
That's for many reasons, the benefit mostly of humans. The light workers know the enemy if they really use their intuition. They can see what is evil. They can see who's being used. They have tools to discern what is going on. And they also are tricked because the veils are very thick here still. They're thinning, but they're very thick. But it's the humans. This is playing out so that whatever Earthlings are left, they have to come to terms with the fact that they let this happen and allowed themselves to be tricked and thought that the good guys were the bad guys and the bad guys were the good guys. So it is murky now, but it will get clearer and clearer as more eyes open and people will be forced to see, in the hopes that this doesn't happen so easily next time if it is tried in other places with the same types of souls.
How did this battle begin?
It's been going on for many, many, many eons. There's always good and evil, and the ones that fed themselves the evil began to feel like they were invincible and turned away from their creator, from God, and wanted to act like gods themselves. So they came to rule over the humans, who were some of the youngest in the multiverses, and they thought that nobody would notice. And as they ruled, the more disconnected they got, and the more that they thought they were gods, and it just kept escalating in that way. But it keeps them also from evolving. They feel like with their greed and their power, that's evolution, but that is actually keeping them back and keeping them from evolving themselves. So they are caught up in their own web of lies and deceit and slavery. They are a slave to their own ideas.
What's going to happen next?
There will be more and more obvious inconsistencies in the narrative that people will have a hard time reconciling with what they're being told is the truth. And it will just keep getting more and more disconnected until people see it for themselves and know that what they're being fed, what they're being told, is not the truth. It will happen faster and faster because there needs to be an end. There needs to be a finish to this. Too many people are caught up in this earth drama, and the souls need to be freed from this.
Is there something we can do to help?
You can always pray. Just being aware, shining a light, holding space for those who have recently seen and will see. It will be devastating for many. Many won't make it through that. There's energies trying to prevent the violence from happening. And the hope is that if enough people see enough, then there won't be violence, either self-harm or harm to others. But we're on the razor's edge with that, because we can only wait so long for the light workers to stick around and for humanity to wake up. So there's this push-pull right now. Those of the light and those that know want it to happen so that they can be freed. But humanity is not. They're more hijacked than anyone was aware before they came here.
What do you mean that you can only wait so long?
Because those who came to help are getting tired and frustrated, and many want to go home to where they're from. They don't want to be trapped here with this energy.
Mm-hmm.
So before too many decide to leave and then the balance goes the other way, there has to be a push for humans to wake up so that things change.
And if they don't wake up?
There's no choice, they will. Those who stay will be awake. It's the only way. That's been foretold. They will wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, can they wake up and still have their sanity and go on? Or will they stay in the hypnosis too long, and then once everything starts to happen, they can't handle it anyway, and then they can't stay here? It's very... There's this push-pull right now. The controllers are waiting it out. They're biding their time because they know that the light workers are getting tired, that the army of light that came didn't realize how deep the hypnosis went, how much their plan had worked. The controller's plan had worked. We thought it would be easier. We thought that people would just want to be free and awake, but they've been slaves for so long they don't know any different. So the controllers feel like if they can just keep dragging it on, that enough of the light workers will leave, that humanity will be theirs again. But the light workers won't let that happen. But they are tired.
Is there a way that they can get rejuvenated and inspired again, or filled with more light? How can they tap into that infinite light of God, the Creator?
It's very dense here for all of them. So they just need to remember, always remember that they made this choice. Always remember what's at stake. Always remember that they are infinite beings and this is just a blip in their beingness. And they can picture just plugging themselves in, plug themselves into the light grid with their hands like plugs into the light that's coming down, ground into the earth, and she's already made it. She will help them because they answered her call to help her. Know that in the end they will be victorious, and that they are honored for their desire to come and help at this time. It has not been easy for them. They did not need to do it. But it's much more difficult than any thought that it would be. It's hard for them to understand how a race of people got so far into the trap without knowing that they were in the trap. So they thought when they came it would be easy to just show them little things and they would remember, but they're not. And so it's frustrating and it's tiring because they know they signed up for this, but no one realized how dense it had become.
There's an awful lot of gaslighting going on, and it seems like people don't know who the enemy is, and yet there are those people saying or trying to, how can I explain? They're telling us things are this way when it's obvious that's wrong, and everybody's going along with it. For example, we have no problem with transgender people. However, there was a gentleman who was like a coach with his daughter on the team, and the transgender person was in the ladies' room or in the girls' room looking at the girls inappropriately, and yet the coach got fired and the girl got reprimanded for reporting that. It seems like administration saying, oh no, this is right, and the coach is wrong for reporting it, when clearly people can see that wasn't the case. This was totally inappropriate.
Well,
So
not everybody can see, and that is where the conundrum comes in. Everybody should be able to see that. Anybody in their right mind would see that, but how many people are not admitting that? Either because they're trying to be polite or politically correct, or they really believe it. But there are many people who are going along with that narrative still. They're not speaking up.
Mm-hmm.
Why was it only those two people out of a locker room of people and their parents that were the only ones willing to stand up?
Because they're afraid.
Yes, it's the fear.
Yeah.
It's the fear that controls. That is part of the agenda and manipulation
Of the mind.
of the controllers. They have tapped into that and mined that, like not mind, but M-I-N-E-D, mined that as their currency. So they use the fear to keep going. That's how they feed off of. And the fear is what allows them to not only control, but to sustain themselves. And they have it at every level of society, of the fear. And so we need more fearless people willing to speak out and lose their jobs and be banished from their families and their friends until the people that banished them realized that they were the ones that were speaking truth. It's never been so obvious that the emperor has no clothes and nobody is speaking out about it, or very few people are speaking out about it. So that needs to mushroom and grow, and like Brazil, what's happening in Brazil is what needs to happen everywhere. People need to just say no. That is not the truth. And be willing to speak that. And the problem what happens in the United States and places like the United States, Europe, is that life has become too comfortable and they trapped the people that way. In Brazil, very few people have much to lose. In places that are not second and third world countries, people are afraid to lose things. So they're afraid to speak out. They're afraid to point that out because they want the status quo not realizing that the status quo is evil and has trapped them and that they are slaves and cogs in a machine.
May we ask who is speaking now?
This is the one who knows.